Hey everyone, and welcome back to Rank and File Sports with Jonah and Connor. Today we're going to be continuing our scheduled previews with the SMU Mustangs. We're going to be previewing every single Power 4 team as well as a few Group of 5 teams, so please make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on your favorite team's video as well as our official game-by-game predictions over the summer. Taking a look at the overall schedule, SMU's got 7 games at home and 5 on the road. A lot of these games are going to be tough. You got Baylor at home, TCU on the road, Clemson on the road, as well as Miami, Louisville, and Cal. This is going to be a pretty tough schedule for SMU. But comparatively with the rest of the FBS, it's kind of right in the middle at about a 5 out of 10.
And starting it off, it's a team that you failed to mention as one of their toughest opponents, East Texas A&M. This is a sure win for SMU, for Kevin Jennings and the Mustangs. Then the following week against Baylor. Baylor is one of those teams that we think is going to be pretty competitive next season. It's going to be a dark horse team out of the Big 12. Team that no one's going to really want to face because any given day they can beat you. With it being a home game, though, we are going to give the edge to Kevin Jennings and the Mustangs, giving them a 55% chance to win here. Following week, going to Missouri State. Missouri State obviously making the leap from the FCS level to the FBS level. And in their first season, they get a team that made the college football playoffs the previous season with SMU. This game is going to be the welcome to the FBS, buddy kind of game. SMU is going to destroy them. 100% chance for the Mustangs. And then at TCU the following week, much like Baylor, TCU is one of those teams we think is going to be very competitive next season, looking to compete for a Big 12 title. They're going to have to rely on their quarterback, who is returning for another season, despite losing the entire wide receiver room to the NFL draft. But TCU should be able to figure out a way to come back and give their quarterback some options to make this game competitive, since it is an away game for SMU, even with Kevin Jennings having the starting experience and playing at a high level. We're going to give the edge to TCU in this case, especially with it being early in the season, with about 45% chance for SMU to get a win here going into their first bye week.
After that, they're going to start ACC play with the Syracuse Orange. They get this game at home. Syracuse lost Kyle McCord to the NFL draft. They're going to be rebuilding a little bit next season. So I do think SMU should be favored in this one, especially because they're at home. Give me SMU at about a 75% chance to win. Next up is going to be Stanford. And again, the Cardinal are not going to be very good this season. Just really, they don't have a ton coming back, and you're losing a lot. Give me SMU at about an 80% chance here, and then things start getting a little bit more difficult. You have to go on the road to play Clemson, a rematch of the ACC title game last year, where Clemson got the best of SMU. This one is at Clemson. You got to give the edge to the Tigers. Cade Klubnik is back. They are going to be a really, really good team. There's no way that you can have SMU as a road favorite here. It's not to say that they don't have a chance to win, but Clemson definitely deserves to be favored. After that, you got Wake Forest on the road. Now, unlike Clemson, Wake Forest is not going to be competing for an ACC title this season. Even though they have the home field advantage, this one's about an 80% chance for SMU to walk away with a win. Miami at home after that is going to be an intriguing matchup. Miami brings in Carson Beck from Georgia in the transfer portal to try and fill the void that Cam Ward left this offseason. I don't know if he's going to be able to do it quite as well as Cam Ward. Carson Beck had a lot of turnover issues in key moments and really put Georgia in some bad situations last year. If he does the same thing at Miami, this Miami defense is not going to be built back good enough this season from how bad they were last season in order to keep them in games. So Carson Beck is really going to need to step up. That being said, home field advantage for SMU. I think that they're going to be able to get just a slight advantage here against Miami. And then finally, before the second bye week, going on the road to Boston College, year two under Bill O'Brien. And will Boston College be much better? I'd like to think that with Bill O'Brien as the head coach, they'd maybe take some steps forward, but I just really don't see anything that they brought in. In fact, they lost their starting quarterback, Thomas Castellanos, to the transfer portal. He ended up going to Florida State. So, really, what does Boston College have that even with the home field advantage gives them an advantage over SMU? I don't think there's anything. So SMU at about an 80% chance to win that road game heading into their final bye week.
Yeah, that's a brutal stretch of games in between their two bye weeks. But coming out of that bye week, they will have a home game against Louisville. Louisville is going to be like a semi-competitive team. Last season, they were up and down depending on week to week if they were going to be a team to watch out for or a team that you were going to kind of take it back a little bit against. I expect them to be in a similar situation this year. I think that since it's the end of the season, maybe SMU could be looking ahead to an ACC championship game or trying to make a statement for their college football playoff hopes. That maybe they take a little off, maybe they overlook this game, but overall, they should be the favorites in this one, especially since it is at home. So we have that at about a 60% chance for the Mustangs. And then finishing off the season at Cal. This should be a very intriguing game as well. Obviously, you are going to California. It's a bit of a road trip. Honestly, it's not as bad as some of the other ACC teams would have it. Just imagine if Clemson had to go all the way from one coast to the other coast. But still, road trips are very hard, especially when it's this far. Should be very interesting because Cal is losing their starting quarterback in Mendoza, but is bringing in Devin Brown along with a highly recruited quarterback as well. Their defense is was outstanding last year. I think they might have led the league in interceptions. They're losing some of those corners to the draft or for other reasons. The biggest thing is that they do have Jaden Ott returning. It's going to be the focal point of their offense. It should be a good matchup between that Jaden Ott led offense and the Kevin Jennings run offense of SMU. Just because SMU has more experience in some of these bigger games, especially with Kevin Jennings leading the team, we have this about 60% chance for SMU to get a win in their season finale.
Yeah, just looking at the overall schedule, this one is it's tough to pick a record for SMU here because they did make the college football playoff last season, but that was largely due to the fact that they had a really, really easy schedule. And when you look at this one, there's a lot of games around 60% down all the way to 40%, with six of those total. So, in my opinion, they're probably going to end up splitting those. I feel like SMU is looking at most likely a 9-3 record this season.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Jonah. There are a couple teams on this schedule that will pose a bit of a threat to SMU. Baylor and TCU early on in the season will be games to watch out for. And then, like we mentioned, at Clemson is going to be a very good rematch, but one that I definitely think that Cade Klubnik and the Tigers should be able to win. The game against Miami, depending on if Carson Beck can revert to form from past seasons, limit his turnover numbers, maybe that is another loss for SMU. And then there's just those couple other games along the way, the Cal game, the Louisville game at the end of the season, those aren't games that are just going to be an easy one for the Mustangs. I do think, though, that Kevin Jennings, after that year under his belt where he was able to take over the offense and lead SMU to the college football playoffs, I do think that with this offseason, he's going to be able to get to a better point than he was last season and be able to make SMU a more complete team and one that teams should watch out for. But I do agree with you. I do think this team is around 10-2, 9-3, somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah, speaking of last season, the Mustangs did end up finishing 11-3 with that first round loss at Penn State. Now, based on all the percentages from the last screen, our projected win total is going to be 8.35 and 3.65. So between 8 and 4 wins, which makes sense when you look at all of those really close games that they're going to have percentage wise. As far as our prediction goes, like we said, 9-3 seems to be the most realistic prediction for SMU right now. But keep in mind, this is a way too early prediction. We haven't even seen the spring games yet. So please make sure to like and subscribe, and make sure to come back when we release our official predictions over the summer. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in our next video.